Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this. My name is Leanne. I'm a yoga and Pilates teacher, online coach and personal trainers. The link is in my description to work with me. Today I'm going to be taking you through a Pilates class of 45 minutes where we're going to be getting nice deep stretches in the hip flexors, working the back for back strength and getting into some nice deep stretches with the back and mobilizing and strengthening the spine, having it move in all different directions and ease off any stiffness that you may have experienced this week. Let's get started in the standing up position. Okay, we're going to start in the standing position. Warming up the hip flexors. So rib cage in, belly button into spine, hands on hips for stability, soft knees. I'm going to bring our knee up and back down into a lunge position. Only going to the depth that you feel comfortable with, nice and slow. Point here is for a flex, so strengthen the hip flexor and then a stretch. Sitting in the middle of the lunge. Weight in the front heel, knee shouldn't be going past the toe. Inhale and exhale as you're coming down to the lunge. Take your time, stability needed. This is a balance exercise as well. Looking for 8 to 10. The further back that leg goes, the more stretch in the hip flexor. Which if they're tight, they pull the pelvis forward and cause a tight back. One more. And then we're going to hold that knee up for 10. Deep breaths. Feeling that in the top of the thigh. 2, 1. Release back down. Knee on the floor, I'm going to come into a stretch. Now that's nice and warm. Pushing the hips towards the front. Chest proud. If you want to increase the stretch more, inhale, arms rise and back. Notice where you feel that. Push the hips forward. Good. Coming down into Tadasana again. 10 on the other side, all the way up. See what balance is like on this side. Make sure you're going wide enough width-wise. Knees should just be off the floor. Exhale as you come down into the lunge. Inhale as the knee comes up towards the navel. Looking for a bend in the back leg. Distributing your weight evenly over the left and the right leg. Another 2, 1, and then we're going to hold that last one for 10. Deep breaths, get the oxygen into the working muscles. 3, 2, 1, release down into the lunge position for the stretch, pushing the hips forwards. Try and relax into it. It can be quite intense if you are tight there. Inhale, arms rise to increase the stretch if you'd like to. Keeping tension in the neck, making sure the head just doesn't fall back. Good. Coming down into a cat-cow position. We're going to go into a cat-cow. 5. Let's see how it feels. Starting off slow until you mobilize with a smaller range of movement, and then you can increase the range of movement. Okay, starting with thread the needle. So thread the needle, bending the elbow, following your gaze with your hand, pulse 1 and 2, and thread again. Trying to bring the arm right back, opens up to the heart center, great for posture, upper back strength, rounded shoulders. Notice where you're feeling that as you pulse in. Exhale as you thread the needle. Inhale as you turn around and exhale on the pulse. Good. Go for 10 to 12. Another 3. One more. Good. We're going to hold that last one. Right arm comes over the head. Deep breath, settle in. Allow yourself to feel that stretch in a twisted position. It's common for us to tense up in stretches, so we're just trying to relax in them. If that feels okay without your chest caving into the floor, arm comes round the side and tuck it into your back pocket or between your thighs, however far round you can go. Inhale, carefully coming out. Isolating the upper back and the back of the shoulder, really important for posture. Left arm, or either, whichever side you've just threaded, this arm comes up to the side and to the front. Staying up as far up as you can. Bringing your body weight over the left and the right sides. Core's engaged. Can you connect to it and can you feel it below the belly button? That it's switched on. You should start to feel a warm burning sensation at the back of the arm. You're doing as many as you can, or 12. Once you've finished your last one, I'm going to thread the needle again for the posterior stretch. Tuck your arm around the back if you can. Good. And last part of this set, bird dog. So the arm that you've just threaded and been using, I'm going to extend opposite leg. Deep breaths. So have a look back. Is your leg as high as your hip and your arm as high as your shoulder? 5, 4, connect to that core. 3, 2, 1, and release. Excellent. Hopefully we're feeling a little bit of something there at the back of the shoulder. Now over to the other side. Extend the arm up, thread the needle. So don't forget about your 2 pulses. Pulse 1, 2, back round. Exhale on the pulse, inhale, and then exhale as you thread. Another 2 if you can. I'm going to hold that threaded position, extend the arm, see how that feels. This might be enough on this side, or tuck your hand in the back pocket for an increased stretch. You'll still need a bit of tension in the neck to support the head. Two more deep breaths. Next, inhale. With the arm you've just been threading, we'll come over to the side and back 12 times. Soft elbow, distributing your weight over the left and the right. Feeling that burning sensation. Three, 2, When you finish your last rep, thread that needle for another stretch. Put your arm in the back pocket or between your thighs, shoulders down away from ears, and don't allow your chest to fall into the floor. Inhale, coming out of there, the arm that we've just been using into a bird dog, a 10-second hold. Connect to that core, bring your weight over the left and the right side. Have a look back. Is your leg as high as you think it is on both sides for my muscle connection improvements? Deep breaths and reduces the fall risk. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Cat-cow. Deep breaths. Couple more. Okay, next in a tabletop position, hip opening so we can go into some deep stretches later on. So let's warm up and mobilize the hips. So big circles, knee right up, keeping the knee bent. How does that feel? Is there any crunching? Is there any cramping? Just go to the range of movement that you're comfortable with, but I want you to feel that opening and that mobilizing in the hip joint. So it's a ball and socket, it's a massive range of movement, it's a strong joint, but it gets very tight, and if you've gone through pregnancy, it's probably even tighter than it should be. Looking for 8. Once you've finished your 8, you're going to keep it up and pulse for 8. 5, 3. And once you finish the last one, release. And over to the other side, let's see how that feels. So if you want to go onto fist as well as a break, or if you're feeling it on your wrists, come a little bit further forward so your wrists aren't clamped down as much. Big circles. Looking for 8. Taking your time not to rush through it. Every rep counts. 4, 3, 1. You can feel the stretch as you're moving through that. And keep it up for 8 pulses. Is it tire sooner? If you can only do 6, that's fine. 2, 1. Good. Nice and wide into child's pose, feet together. As wide as you can so you feel that stretch in the inner groin. Come down as close to the floor as you can. So it shouldn't be painful, it's just a discomfort. Big stretch. I'm going to do that once more before moving on. Whichever side you started on first. So if you think you went clockwise, go anti-clockwise, whatever feels a bit alien to you. Coming round in circles with control, looking for 8. Using your shoulders as well here for stability and strength. You finish your last rep, hold it out for another 8, using your stabilizing leg to push against the floor. Core engaged. 3, 2, 1, release. Opposite side now, opposite way. Another 3, 1, hold it out, 8 pulses, 6, that was my harder side. as wide as you can for the child's pose. See if you can get into a slightly deeper stretch, knees wider apart if you can. Good. Optional, second stretch for the hip flexors, arms around the back. If this is enough for you, stay here or push the hips up to feel that stretch in the thighs and the hip flexors. Really good if you've been doing lots of walking. Squeezing the bum cheeks protects the lower back, and you can feel a warmth and a tension in your lower back as well as you bring in strength and nutrition as blood flow and circulation's increased. Deep breath, one more. Excellent. Feel free to grab a drink. So move on to our bellies. So we're going to be doing 3 moves here. All 4 back bends, hip flexor openings. I've not done many of these recently, so that's why I'm adding these in. But first, strengthening the back and prepping it for these movements. So we're going to start with dorsal raises. So these are your beginners, but they are still challenging. So elbows to the back of the room, and if you want, you can bring your feet off the floor. As high up as you can, coming down with control. Inhale, coming up. Exhale as you fall down. Remember, elbows right back. Think about moving the shoulder blades together, squeezing a P in between your shoulder blades, or your shoulder blades touching each other. Because that movement's really important and can be lost. And your shoulder blades tend to sit differently after breastfeeding, after children, rounded shoulders, desk job. So this is working on posture. You should start to feel a warm sensation. Wherever you're burning, you're strengthening. It shouldn't be painful though, so if it is, just stop. Let us know. Another 5 if you can. 4. And then the last one, you've got the option to hold up for 5 seconds. 2, 1. And hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow, you really felt that burn. Before we do a counter pose, I'm going to come into Sphinx position. Shoulders down, away from ears. And pushing your belly into the floor. Try and relax and allow a stretch. Pushing your arms into the floor, your elbows into the floor. Pushing backwards almost with your hands. So you feel a stretch in the base of your back. Deep breaths. Then coming down. And carefully, hips shift back into child's pose, knees together for a counter pose and back spine mobility and flexibility. Deep breaths. Good. We're back down into the prone position. So feel free to do the exact same again, or you can progress it with me. So this time, I'm going to come to floor angels. So big circles all the way around to add weight. Slight bend in the elbow and coming up and pushing off the floor. So floor is lava. Don't touch the floor with your hands if you can help it. So these are more challenging, so feel free to do as many as you can, or 15, because there's more weight to the upper back, so you're trying to keep off the floor. Pinning them shoulder blades together. Feel the burn in the back of the shoulders, that's good. One more. And hold option or release. 3, 2, 1, release. Well done. Making your way over to Sphinx. And if you wanted to go further, you can go into seal. Again, pushing back, shoulders down, extending the arms to the straight, almost slight bend. Pushing your belly into the mat, allowing that back bend. Good. Notice where you feel this. Are you just feeling it in the back? You feel it in the shoulders or the hip flexors, the abs. And then coming down again. You can wait a few seconds before shifting the hips back into child's pose, counter pose, bending the other way. And enjoy how that feels as you're releasing that tension straight away. This helps you become less stiff over time, moving from one posture to another. Last round of these exercises, just carefully make your way over. If you feel like you've done enough, feel free to just relax in this bit. You could even relax in the cobra, up to you. Otherwise, arms are extended, so feel free to do the dorsal raises or challenge yourself further. Shoulders down away from ears and pulsing up. So adding more weight as you're extending the arms, maximum of 15. Notice where's burning. Trying to keep your arms off the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. Coming back down. You can go into Sphinx, Seal, or Cobra. Elbows tucked in. Good bend in the elbows. Tucked into the sides of the ribs, allowing a back bend. Chest proud. If this feels still too intense, go down into Sphinx. Feel free. Squeezing the bum cheeks to protect that lower back. It's getting your body used to what the spine can move like. Inhale, back down. You can wait a few moments, before hips come back into child's pose, releasing that tension. Excellent, well done. Feel free to grab a drink. So move over to our next hip flexor stretch. This is meant to be yoga. Vinyasa. Okay, making our way over to a down dog. So with the down dog, it's really common, and I've done this before I knew better, to bend at the spine. But I want you to untuck the pelvis so your hips face the sky and should get a high hamstring stretch. It's quite difficult. But that you should be bending around the pelvis area, not the back. It's ever so subtle. Don't worry about if your heels can't touch the floor. We're going to paddle those out, bending the knee. There's a lot of weight in the shoulders and the wrists as well. I'm not going to stay in it too long. Good bend in the knee at all times for less pressure on the back. Relax the neck, looking at your toes. Okay, next hip flexor stretch along with hip openings. So you can just go into a low lunge like at the start, or you can try the dragon. So back into a three-legged dog, then into dragon. You can help guide that front leg forward if need be. Deep breaths as we settle in. So this might feel really intense, or you might be fine with it. See how it feels. Untuck that back foot. Good. Excellent. Excellent. Good. Deep breaths, just waiting for our body to get used to it. So we're nice and warm in all the right places where we need to be. Flexing that foot. I'm going to push the knee out to the side on the ridge of the foot. We did this just before we had a break for a week. So you're opening up the hip area here. Straighten that leg a little bit more, ever so slightly. I'm going to come closer, so the hips are staying still, it's just your chest. Comes closer to the knee, exhale, and inhale as you move away, opening that space. Exhale for 10, inhale. Taking your time, enjoying the stretches, more in the hip flexor, more in the hip area as you move forwards and backwards. Creating movement in an intense stretch. It's really good for flexibility. It's telling your brain that everything's fine. This is normal, you always do this. Another 2. 1. Oh, I'm really enjoying that stretch actually. And then straighten that back leg a little bit more. And if you wanted to try and come down to your elbows, feel free. That's the most I've ever been able to come down to my elbows actually. Any improvements this week? Deep breaths. It has been a stressful week for a lot of people, getting schools back and ready and everything last week, and can sometimes take its toll. So you might be tenser than normal. Deep breaths. The breaths are telling your brain to relax their muscles and that everything's fine, you're not under threat. Next, inhale, so you can come out of these positions whenever you want. I'm going to go into a half split, so shimmy that leg over at the front so you're in the centre. Sending your hips back into space, so push them right back and feel that stretch in the hamstring. Flexing your toes to the ceiling, so everything's nice and safe. So I can't, if I come right down to my belly to the thigh, I've got a back bend. I don't want that. So I'm going to shift my hips back and I feel the hamstring stretch right there. So I'm not going to come any further than that. There's no need to. I'm just going to hold that position and ever so slightly pulse, creating movement in that intense stretch. Deep breaths. It's ever so slight. As you're shifting them hips and keeping them back. Core is engaged. Straightening that leg as much as you can. No back bends in the lower back. Movements in the hips. Whew, that's intense. Good. And then lastly, actually we'll save pigeon for later on. I'm going to swap over and come into down dog. Have a paddle, see how everything feels. You might feel a bit of more loose in the hip area. It's usually when you walk around afterwards or you feel like there's more space in that area. Good bend in the knees. Hips up to the sky. Let's even it out. Left leg now, or the other leg comes up into a three-legged dog, knee right back, over to dragon. Settle in. So we can see when we get into this position, there's a good bend in the knee, but that's fine. We're just settling in, getting our body used to it. Deep breaths. Shoulders down away from ears. And straighten that back leg a little bit more. Hips forward a bit more. Good. Flexing the ankle onto the ridge, pushing the knee out. I'm going to hold on. And just the chest, remember the hips stay still. Forwards and back. Exhale, inhale. Notice where you're feeling the stretch on this side in comparison to the other side. I'm definitely tighter on my right side. Going for a total of 10. Leaning into any stiffness, any tightness that you feel. Just take your time. 2 more. 1 more. Good. Settle back in. Let's straighten that leg a little bit more if you can. Again, you can come in and out of these positions whenever. And if you feel able, elbows onto the floor. Deep breath. This is intense, this stretch, so well done for even trying it. But how do you get better at something if you don't try, right? Deep breaths. You can straighten that back leg a little bit more. It's more on the hip flexor stretch. Next, inhale, carefully coming out, with bending the back leg. Hips back, toes flex to the sky, pushing the hips back. And that should feel the stretch. So you can have a play around here. So if the hips face forward, you can have a play around. So if you weren't to shift the hips back, you keep these forward and bend, yeah, you feel a stretch. But if you shift the hips back first, that's enough to feel the stretch without moving closer. That's where you should start. Deep breaths. We can begin a little pulse. Straightening the leg if you can. Hips face forward. It's common for one to point more forward than the other, so just sort that out. Good. Well done. Now into down dog, paddling the legs out. Hips up to the sky. Good. Coming down into the semi-supine position on the back. If you need a drink, feel free. Okay. So more back bends and hip flexor openings. Next, I'm going to come into the bridge position. Shoulders tucked under, chest proud, hips up as high as you can. Have a look down, make sure that they are level. If they're not, you just sort them out yourself and feel how they feel when they're level. Feeling the warmth just above the hip area. If you can go a little bit higher, you'll start to feel warmth in the mid area of the back, if you know you've got weakness there. And you might feel in your hip flexors as well as you're stretching them out, but this stretch isn't as intense as the other. You might feel it in the hamstrings as well as the bum cheeks, because you're getting as high as you can. Good, and we're going to come onto our tiptoes for an additional 10 calf raises. Again, keep them hips up as high as you can, squeezing the bum cheeks, engages and protects the back. 2, 1, coming down, Apanasana, keeping your tailbone on the mat, hug and roll side to side. We're going to pair this with a core exercise. Targets all of the muscles. So back flat against the floor, rib cage in, belly button into spine. Coming in for a pulse. So if you want to make it harder, hold 1, 2, lift the hips up off the floor, and then release. You're not coming all the way out though, because I want your back to stay flat. 1, 2, hips off the floor and release. As many as you can, or 20. Looking for that burn. If your hips are coming off the floor, you're working the lower core more. All the way down, head and shoulders back on the mat. That's really good. And again, you're working and strengthening them hip flexors so we can get into a stretch after. 8 left. Rest as much as you need to. 7. 6. Exhale coming up. 4. 3. 2. 1 more. Well done. Oh, it's when you release it, it burns. When you're ready, coming back up into a glute bridge. This time, feet together, knees out as far as you can, so you have a little stretch in the inner groin. You're going to pulse up. 2, 3. For 20 if you can. 4, 5. As you pulse up with your hips, your knees will naturally want to come in. That's fine. As you're working the inner thigh and different parts of the hamstring towards the inner thigh. Deep breaths. 8, 10, 9. Squeezing them bum cheeks. That's what's leading the movement and getting your hips up. 5, 4, 3, 2. Option to release or hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Well done. Apanasana, knees in for a hug and roll, keeping the tailbone on the floor. Same again. Another 20, the core exercises. Core exercise, back flat against the floor at all times. 1, 2, hold and release to make it harder. Last time doing these, I'm going to get into some stretches. Make the most of it, let it burn. Hips off the floor if you can. Squeeze and hold if you can. 9. 8. Nearly there. 4. You're doing great. 3. 2. One more. Oh, well done. Okay, deep breath in, arms rise. Exhale slowly through the mouth. Again, inhale, relaxing the pelvic floor like you're on the toilet. Pause with full lungs before exhaling slower than you inhaled, holding in the pelvic floor. Inhale, relax the pelvic floor like you don't want to pass wind or urine. And exhale, holding in the pelvic floor like you don't want to pass wind or urine. Inhale, relaxing everything, pushing the belly out. Exhale, bracing the core and the pelvic floor. So you should be able to differentiate between I thought that was my phone. You should be able to differentiate between your anus and your urethra as you are inhaling and exhaling. Excellent. Big stretch out, pushing the arms and legs away from the center of the core. Big stretch like you've just got out of bed, you've got a curve in the lower back. Notice how your body feels, hopefully a bit looser. Might be ever so subtle, but the more you actively try and find differences, the more you'll tune into them and notice them after class, during class, everyday life. Bending at the knee, shifting the hips over to the right, knees over to the left for spinal twist. So shoulders, both shoulders first should be down on the mat before you progress anything, if you wish to. Allow yourself to lean in and feel that stretch. So you might feel it in your glutes if you're tight there. You might feel it in your lower back, around your rib cage, around your hips. Take note on how it's feeling today. Both of your knees should be stacked on top of each other together, ideally. And your hips should be on top of each other. If you want to increase the stretch and add more weight to it, extend that top leg and hold on to the back of it with your other arm. And again, you're just trying to relax. But you can only relax like as fast as possible with deep breath. So inhale, pushing the belly out, fill in the lungs. We'll push you out with a stretch slightly. Then the next exhale, you're able to sink further in. It allows your body to be aware of the tension you keep in with deep breaths. Sometimes it takes up to 2 minutes for this stretch to start getting somewhere with it. So I encourage you, recommend practice at home. Good, bending both knees, moving over to the other side. So shifting your hips over to the left, knees over to the right. Take your time if you're a bit stiff. I don't know. I'm just settling in, getting the body used to this new position. You might not be able to progress it as much as you did if you did on the other side. Where you're feeling this stretch, maybe it's higher up than the other side. You might feel it more in your glute. If you start cramping or spasming, don't go any further than this. You can come out of it at any moment. If you're okay, extend that top leg. And try and relax using that breath. Pushing the belly out, filling the lungs on the inhale. One more big deep breath. Okay, bending both knees, moving over to the same side that your knees are pointing. I'm going to come up into a seated position for some pranayama and box breathing. So sitting tall, untucking the pelvis, so there's no back bend, shoulders down away from ears. And just resting your arms. You can rest them into a mudra or just rest them. You can breathe normally, listen to the rain, or you can practice some pranayama, which is calming before bedtime, relaxes the central nervous system, your fight, flight, and helps with sleep. A deep breath in for 4. I want you to pause with full lungs for 4 before exhaling for your own count of 4. Then pause for 4 and inhale for 4 again. But as you inhale, you're filling your belly first, then your ribs, and then your chest rises, and you pause in. And on the slow exhale through the nose, the chest falls, then your ribs, and then your belly empties. Keeping sitting tall. Every time your mind wanders to anything else other than your breath and how it feels and you count, just bring it back to your environment, the sounds that you hear. Gratitude for this week, for your body, for each breath. Just taking a moment to be present with ourselves and our body. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. Namaste. Thank you for coming tonight. I hope you sleep well.